Hello, I'm Greg Scott. I'm the manager of the Faith Community Health Department at Carle Health System. I have been in healthcare for over 35 years, and I'm an RN and a paramedic and a faith community nurse. And I'm blessed to have Dana Williamson with me. Dana?
Hi, everyone. Greetings. I'm Dana Williamson from Carle Faith Community Health. I have been in healthcare for about 18 years now, a combination of bedside nursing and clinical education, some background in social work, and I have been a faith community nurse for about 12 years now. Glad to be here. Thank you, Greg.
Thank you, Dana. So our topic today is to talk about the advanced care planning. The Carle Faith Community Health Office works out in the community to introduce individuals such as each of you joining us today about advanced care planning. And it's really a concept that starts with a conversation and it's a journey process. And our presentation today hopefully will share that journey and some of the information that's a part of it. And we hope to normalize this topic, and that's really our purpose today, is to introduce you to advanced care planning and the journey throughout this process. Dana.
We are going to start with a short video, just gives you an introduction to a little bit about what advanced care planning is and really starting to think about having those conversations.
I would guess there's a big percentage of people don't like to talk about it. And there's a big percentage of people that it happens suddenly, you never get a chance to talk about it.
Well, of course, we are from the age that things weren't talked about.
It's not part of, hey, what'd you have for supper last night?
You've got to know what to do, what you want done.
We have to talk about this. We should talk about it so that when and if this happens, you get the care that you want.
The same day I came in, they told me I had leukemia. You can't see the leukemia going away. My wife and I have talked about pretty well everything.
Well, we did talk when you were in the hospital.
Oh yeah, I guess
and you
so.
did make the decision. We've talked since then and before that a little bit.
What did I decide?
You decided that you didn't want any CPR and that you didn't want resuscitation.
I still think that.
It's very difficult for a family member to make that decision if there's been no discussion. Most of the time we wait too late. We're often in a critical situation when we're asking those questions.
So it is new to us to talk openly about private things. I think it takes a while to get comfortable because it is a privacy thing, eh? Even with your own family. It's not so simple to say what you want or what you don't want.
We're in a situation where we're having to communicate with family members about decisions to either apply or continue or withdraw life-sustaining treatments. Frequently you hear, I don't know what Mom would have wanted. Mom never told me or Mom never talked to me about this. And so the family then in that acute moment has to struggle with helping us make decisions with what Mom would have wanted. It would have been so much easier had Mom communicated to her family in advance what her wishes, what her preferences, what her values would have been.
And 15 years ago, people didn't talk about dying.
They were still going to die.
Yeah, that's true.
I do a lot of interacting with families of critically ill patients because most critically ill patients can't communicate themselves or only minimally. By and large, people are very glad. Their family members are really glad to have this on the table.
The most important person to communicate to is that person who will represent you in the event that you're unwell and not able to speak. My plan or my wishes would be that I would want this or that I would not want that.
My wife and I have talked about pretty well everything. She knows what I want.
But the main decisions are that you've decided what you would like and not what somebody else would like.
That's right.
Particularly.
That's right. Not a fuss for one thing, not a big flurry.
Yeah, and not a crisis decision.
No.
I'm certainly glad that you and I have had the discussion.
So then the kids can't say to you, what did you do that for?
Exactly. Exactly. And
Well, I didn't do it on my own. The old girls said that.
Well, thank you, Dana, for sharing that video. It is a touching story of the normalization of the topic of advanced care planning within a family unit. So today we'll be talking about the definition and the term advanced care planning and what that really means. And we'll talk a little bit, you'll hear us refer to the word advocate and agent, and we'll talk about what that term really means and some of the qualities of that individual that you would want to select as your advocate. And then we'll talk a little bit how experiences within your life and values and beliefs can all factor into the choices and the wishes and desires that you would want your advocate to speak to your behalf if ever needed. And then we'll talk about future healthcare decisions and what shapes into your ability to speak to your advocate about future healthcare decisions. And then the next part, we'll talk about the what if and how to transfer your wishes and shape them from the advanced care plan process onto paper on a form called advanced directives. And then we'll talk about ways to share that plan with not only your advocate, but other loved ones and your healthcare provider. Dana.
Okay, we're going to start by talking about the advanced care planning piece. So really the important part of this information is really to think about this advanced care planning as a process for future healthcare decisions. So it's a process of communication, planning for the healthcare needs. It's not a one-time event, and you'll hear Greg and I referring to this multiple times during the presentation, that advanced care planning is a process. We want to be sure that if our wishes are not expressed, decisions are made for us. We want those decisions to be made along with our choices and our values. And we don't want to leave our family members or friends with the burden of trying to decide what we would have wanted. We want to relieve that extra stress by outlining those details now while we can speak for ourselves.
Advanced care planning really is a process. It occurs over time, and it involves self-reflection and just really looking inside and looking at your experiences, your life, and where you've come from in those experiences and where you're at currently, where you want to be in the future. And then it talks about having the advanced care planning process is about having thoughtful conversations and asking questions and discussing it with family and friends about what their thoughts are and then what your wishes are. And then when we talk about the advanced directives, that's the actual paper process. That's actually transferring all these thoughts and wishes and desires onto paper and identifying who your healthcare power of attorney is. And these are documents that happens not once and done. It's throughout your lifetime that you'll come back and you'll revisit these throughout your life at different checkpoints. They're really simple conversations. They're everyday conversations that you can have within your own family unit, within your own home, with friends, and so forth, but especially with the individual that you're going to identify on that healthcare power of attorney as your advocate. It's important that your advocate understands what your wishes are. And so sharing those verbally with your advocate and talking with them and then writing them on that healthcare power of attorney. Dana.
So we want to talk next about the Illinois Healthcare Surrogate Act. So this is put into place if an individual does not have a written power of attorney document. Then the Illinois law will take over who will speak for you if you are unable to speak for yourself. So you see here the order of surrogate decision maker priority. If you don't have these healthcare paperwork in place, it will first be your court appointed guardian, your spouse, adult children, parent, adult siblings, adult grandchildren, a close friend, or a legal guardian of the state. So just again, want to stress how important it is that we are in control of the decisions that we're going to make, and we are able to delegate who that person is that's going to speak for us.
So today, we're really just discussing basic concepts to introduce you to the topic of advanced care planning. And it doesn't need to be complex, but it does need to be thoughtful. It needs to be a time of reflection when you can really just think about what your own wishes and desires are, and also have an opportunity to have non-interrupted conversations with your advocate that you desire. It's always possible to also speak with your healthcare provider, your physician, or the physician's office about any questions that you have related to advanced care planning and completing the advanced directives. We'll provide some resources towards the end of our presentation today where you can seek out additional information. The forms, it doesn't require a lawyer or anything. You can do these on your own. But if you do have questions, you can reach out to your physician's office, and we'll also provide some websites that you can seek out additional information. Dana.
So that was kind of an overview of advanced care planning. So next we want to move into choosing an agent or an advocate. So this is one of the most important decisions we encourage all adults to make in choosing someone now who would be able to make future decisions for you. If you were ill, if you were injured, if you are unable to make decisions for yourself or communicate your wishes. Now, I just want to clarify at one point here on this one that this person would only make decisions for you if you were unable to make them for yourself. And we'll talk a little bit later that you are able to change the decisions you make. We go through seasons in life where we make different decisions and we would choose a different agent or a different advocate during those different seasons in life when events happen. So the more you share with your patient advocate and other family members, the less stress, the less confusion or potential conflict your loved ones are likely to face. So if you think about this, it's really a blessing to your family or friends to be able to share this information and for them to be able to speak on your behalf. Greg?
Thank you, Dana. Now, I've mentioned a few times the process of self-reflection. So what is that? I just want to share a little bit about what that means. So many of us probably, unfortunately, have known someone that was in a medical situation or a trauma situation where they were unable to communicate for themselves. And that could have been during a short period of time, or it could have been during a longer period of time. And so that experience is also a part of this reflection process. When I talk about reflection, we're looking at what happens if I were involved and had a sudden illness or a sudden injury, or I was having a procedure done and some decisions needed to be made during that procedure, and I was unable to communicate. Who would communicate for me? And would they know what my wishes are? And so that's what that self-reflection is we're thinking about those past experiences, and we're also thinking about the what if I were in that position, what would I want? And what have I learned from those situations in the past that I've experienced? Dana.
Thank you. We're going to talk next about exploring living well. So what would you do if you were having a really great day? Who would you talk to? What would happen? It's important to think about the activities we engage in that are important to us, that give our life meaning. So just a couple of quick examples. For me, a really good day might be walking with the dogs. It might be seeing my children, my friends. You know, for my mom, and a really good day for her would be to be able to go to church and be able to go out to breakfast with her friends. So you think about having those conversations with your agent and what would a good day look to you? So if you were not able to do those things, what decisions would be made for you if you were not able to live well and have those good experiences? So like Greg said, really doing some really deep self-reflection here to be thinking about what a good day would look like for you, and then have those conversations. Greg?
Thank you, Dana. So a part of this reflection process really is beliefs. I mentioned that earlier, but I didn't explain what that beliefs is. And so the beliefs is what your beliefs are. And a part of that, what helps mold our beliefs, are cultural beliefs. So an example, like certain foods or drinks that might be prepared for and served to an individual when they're sick and ill, that is a part of the cultural beliefs. Spiritual beliefs, any spiritual practices that are important to you. There might be certain medical procedures or products that your spiritual beliefs do not allow. And it might also be a part about having a chaplain or a pastor or a priest or a rabbi or omen, someone come in and have special prayers at the bedside. And so those are part of your spiritual beliefs that create as a part of this advanced care planning process. And so it's important that when you're having these meaningful conversations where you're uninterrupted, speaking to the person that you're asking to be your advocate or agent, that you share these cultural beliefs and the spiritual beliefs and your past experiences with that individual. And you want them to honor those if ever they're put into a place where they're advocating for you because you've been in a ill or a trauma situation where you're not able to speak for yourself and communicate for yourself. So those things are not only written down, but they're also shared in that conversation with your advocate so they can know what your wishes and your beliefs are. Dana.
So we're going to take a minute here and just do an imagine if scenario. So a sudden event such as a car accident or illness leaves you unable to communicate. You're receiving all the care you need to keep alive. The doctors believe there is little chance, less than 5%, that you'll ever recover the ability to know who you are or who you are with. So this is how we discuss exploring goals for care. What would you want the goal to be? What would you want done? So this is one scenario that we want everybody to think about. And we call it Imagine If, because we don't like to think about these scenarios, but we do need to take time to imagine what they would happen so that we can communicate that with our loved one. Would we want continued medical treatment? Would we want to stop medical treatment? Those are hard conversations, like we've said, but if you can kind of take the time to imagine what your decision would be, it would be better for you because you'd have your wishes honored, and better for your family or friend that's your delegate as well. Greg?
Thank you, Dana. So really, after thinking about those goals and beliefs and experiences that we've been talking about, there's several steps that we recommend that each individual over the age of 18 take as a part of this advanced care planning journey. First of all, that self-reflection process where you're thinking about all those things and just having a quiet time where you're thinking about these, that's step one. Then identifying that agent or advocate was step two. Just thinking about who would you want to be my spokesperson if I'm not able to communicate and talk for myself for that period of time. And then the next step is you need to talk to that potential person, that potential advocate or agent, and communicate your wishes, your beliefs, your experiences and things, and asking that person, would they be willing to serve as your advocate and agent and be able to communicate your wishes and not be influenced by their own? And then sharing some of the thoughts and information that you gain from this presentation with others. That's an important part of this journey is once you went through the journey and you've completed your advanced directives and you've shared those forms with your advocate and your primary care physician, but also now you carry this forward into the community and your friends and family and others that you come into acquaintance, the importance of advanced care planning and what difference it made for you. It brings a sense of peace in a time of turmoil, in a time of sudden illness or trauma. And so it just does bring a sense of calmness to that situation. And after today, and after the information, you went through all those steps, then completing the form is important. And that advanced directive, that healthcare power of attorney is so important for every adult over the age of 18 to have. Sharing it with your advocate or agent. And just to clarify, advocate and agent, when we both, Dana and I are saying advocate and agent, they really are the same person. This is just the family or friend that you've identified to be your spokesperson if you're rendered unable because of an illness or some kind of hospital stay that you can't communicate your own wishes. And so at least I know we have an audience of individuals that are Carle as well as non-Carle. So I recommend that if you have questions or when you have completed the documents, you reach out to your primary care physician, wherever they may be, and share that form with them. If you're at Carle, a Carle patient, you can reach out to your doctor's office if you have those questions. They have trained facilitators. And if you're a non-Carle patient, again, reach out to your doctor's office if you have questions, and they can help direct you at that point and assist with your questions. Dana.
Thank you. So next we are going to talk about the advanced directive forms. So there's no one standard form that has to be used in the state of Illinois. Lawyers are able to draft up their own versions. Other versions can be printed off the internet. But today we're just going to review Carle's version. So I'm going to let Greg start with reviewing the healthcare power of attorney.
So this is a notice, and so this notice is required by the state of Illinois. So any resident within the state of Illinois that is going to complete a healthcare power of attorney, this notice basically contains information about the individual's rights. So each of you have rights that are related to the healthcare power of attorney, and it has some helpful information to consider. Some of the things that we've spoken about during this presentation are included, and then there's additional information as well. There is nothing to sign on this notice. So if you get the packet of forms or you download them off the internet, there is nothing to sign on the notice. And we'll talk about the forms that there is a signature required. Dana?
Okay. So the first form that we're going to talk about that there is a signature required is the healthcare power of attorney form. So we want to show this form to everyone with the highlighted boxes. This form, we understand, can be daunting, can be overwhelming. So just want to kind of emphasize here that the areas that are circled must be completed: the name, MRN number, your date, your agent name, you'll see on the first page there, all needs to be completed, contact information. And then on the second page, you see there the signature, the date of the signature, and then you will need your witness information, which cannot be yourself or a family member or your agent. So that has to be someone outside of those people, but it's important that all of the highlighted areas are completed. The other areas are optional, but we want to be sure that you complete the highlighted areas, and that, of course, like we've referenced, have this on file with your primary care provider.
And Dana,
Greg?
before you move off to that next form, I just wanted to explain when Dana mentioned MRN, that's medical record number.
Okay.
So that just helps with this form getting connected to your medical record when you turn it in. And Dana did mention about the witnesses. You do not need an attorney to complete this form. That's the only thing. I just wanted to clarify those things, because I know I used to think you had to have an attorney to fill out these type of forms, but on the forms we're speaking about today does not require you to have an attorney to complete them. You can do them yourselves. Thank you, Dana.
Thank you.
And so on the living will form, this is an optional form. This is different from the healthcare power of attorney that Hannah just mentioned and went over and reviewed. This is basically a supplement to the healthcare power of attorney document that you just had. And so this is a strong declaration. The areas that are highlighted in yellow are the required fields if you choose to fill out a living will. But this is basically related to life-sustaining treatments in the event of some form of terminal condition. So it's related to end of life, life-sustaining equipment and treatment specifically. And so every line on that living will form must be completed in order for it to be a valid form. But again, I just want to stress that a living will is a supplement document. It's not really required to be a part of the journey, advanced care planning journey, or the advanced directive of a healthcare power of attorney form. Anna.
So next, we just want to talk a little bit about advanced directives and the signature by the witness. So witnesses must meet the criteria printed on the form. Most errors on these documents are seen with witnessing. So witnesses cannot be an agent or a family member by blood, marriage, or adoption. So we just have an example there of Mary naming her daughter as her agent, and then the daughter signs the witness form. So then that has to be, it goes to maybe you take it to your primary care physician, and then that needs to be reviewed, and that's not the correct witness. So it needs to go back for some editing to make that find the correct witness for that. So we want to just be sure and emphasize that it's important to use the right criteria when determining who your witness is for your healthcare power of attorney. A notary is not required. You certainly can. Some people think, like Greg mentioned, that you need an attorney and also a notary for this, but you do not. You're welcome to do that, of course, but it's not required. Greg?
So this is really a review about some important steps as a part of this journey that we've been speaking about. And so communications, just talking, those earnest conversations where you're not interrupted and have a lot of distractions, but just talking to your family and close friends, especially the individual that you're selected, that you've chosen as your advocate or agent or spokesperson for you in this event. And it's really about those beliefs and wishes and desires and what your healthcare preferences and plans are for the future. So those individuals will all know. And I mentioned earlier a sense of peace, because that does bring a sense of peace when the family and friends come together and they know in this event what your wishes are in this situation. And then keeping that advance directive, I've mentioned about you keeping a copy and you giving a copy to your advocate or agent, that spokesperson that you've selected and have these conversations with, and then a copy with your healthcare professional and primary care doctor is important to have these copies at each of those locations. And the important part of this journey is to realize it's not a one-time event. It's not just, oh, I've done that form, and so now I can forget all about it until the future time when it's important. But we recommend that you pull this document out and you do a review of it on 5 different occasions that all start with D. Once a decade, every 10 years, at a minimum. 10 years, you pull it out. Hopefully you've been healthy and strong, not had this situation, and no changes are necessary. You've had a death of a loved one, death of a family or a close friend sometimes can influence our own wishes and desires. And so that's why we recommend that you revisit this. You do that self-reflection process. You have these open conversations within your family and friends and with your selected advocate, agent, spokesperson. If you go through a divorce, divorce is another instance where you should revisit this and pull the document out and update it if necessary. Diagnosis. What do we mean? Well, you've been diagnosed with some type of health condition, and that diagnosis may change your thoughts and wishes and desires and future healthcare plans. And that's an important checkpoint to pull this out and review it, and also have these conversations with family, friends, and your advocate, agent, spokesperson. And then the last D is a decline in your health. So possibly with the aging process, your health starts to decline and you start having more and more health conditions. It's important to do that self-reflection process again. It's important to have these meaningful conversations, uninterrupted conversations with family, close friends, and your spokesperson. Just just to say, has any of my wishes changed? And if so, communications, again, talking to those individuals and sharing what your wishes changes are. And if they haven't changed, even sharing that with them, saying no changes in my wishes and desires that we've talked about previously. Dana.
So next, we're going to talk just a little bit about submitting advance directives to medical records. So in the first section here, you'll see information if you are a Carle patient. So you upload to your My Carle account, or you can send a copy to the HIM, Health Information Management Department at Carle. Bring a copy to your next appointment. If you're not a Carle patient, you would just check with your healthcare provider on how to submit the forms. Just another reminder there, I know we've touched on this already, but just want to ensure the accuracy of the form prior to submission, so the form doesn't get sent back and have to be redone and scanned into the medical record. Greg?
Thank you, Dana. We can go on to the next slide there. We're going to just talk about some resources and where you can seek out additional information. So if you do have further questions or would like to just look and see about more, maybe you have some questions, and we'll be presenting in the future some question answers about advanced care planning, but possibly you'd like to research it on your own. And so advanced care planning, you can go to carle.org/ACP. And then that also includes some of these different guides and informational questions and answers and so forth that you can seek out. But the guide always starts with concepts and what the advanced care planning journey is. And so it will describe in further detail some of the conversations that Dana and I have been speaking to today. Dana.
This just provides some information for the Illinois Department of Public Health Advanced Directives. There's some links there that you can go to get more information. If you prefer to use the advanced directive forms, it can be found on this page. All you do is type advanced directives in the search bar, and then all these forms will come up for you to gain information. And you can print these forms and use those to take to your primary care provider. Greg?
Thank you, Dana. These are a few other websites that you can also visit to download the forms, and those forms you can download them and print them and so forth, and fill them out on your own after you have these meaningful conversations.
Another slide here shows some more advanced care planning online resources, the Conversation Project, Begin the Conversation. These are all just really good resources for you just to gain more information about preparing for advanced care planning, how to have those conversations, how to choose your healthcare power of attorney or healthcare agent.
And we have a short video here that we will be playing that just really talks about advanced care planning and the importance that it played in this family's life.
Laura Lee and Steve shared a happy marriage and life, along with their daughter Chelsea. But in 2013, their lives took an unexpected turn when Steve was diagnosed with cancer.
When Steve was diagnosed, the focus 150% was on cure. Unfortunately, as the tide turned and he got sicker and sicker, it was just, we still tried to mount that hope.
As Steve neared the end of his life, Laura Lee says the healthcare team was asking her for direction as his substitute decision maker.
And I didn't have answers. And So I wish so much that we'd had conversations when he was healthy.
These conversations are called advanced care planning, a process where you discuss with your substitute decision maker, the person who will make healthcare decisions for you if you are unable, what's most important to you. Dr. Jeff Myers is head of Sunnybrook's palliative care consult team.
The natural inclination is to not want to talk about dying. And I would say that advanced care planning is not about dying. Advanced care planning is about preparing for future health care and what matters to you and what's important to you and what your values are around that.
At Sunnybrook, these conversations have been made part of routine care, and clinicians and families are provided resources to have them. Many are available on the Sunnybrook website.
This conversation is relevant to 100% of people. So ideally it happens when a person is well.
If ever you need to, that you pulled it out because it's got those stuff in it.
I know. Having learned from her experiences, Laura Lee says she was sure to have the conversation with her daughter Chelsea.
It was hard for both of us, but it was also very good because it opened the door. And she has a clear idea, and she has it in writing. What matters most to me? That's a gift, you know?
Laura Lee is now a family partner with the advanced care planning team at Sunnybrook and says she's on a mission to help others have the one conversation she and Steve did not. With Sunnyview, I'm Monica Mattis.
Well, that's such a powerful video as well, and the importance that advanced care planning and advanced directives had on families' lives. Again, we would like to thank you for the presentation or the opportunity to present today and to come into your homes and share some information about advanced care planning, to just share some information about advanced care planning and the importance of this journey and process leading to the completion of an advanced directive form and submitting that to your doctor's office. Again, we will be back in the near future. Join us on the same channel that you're watching us on to just do some questions and answers about advanced care planning. So we'll be reviewing some of the information that Dana and I have shared today, but we'll also be doing, we'll have another individual joining us from the Carle Advanced Care Planning team as well on that presentation. So watch the programming guide and rejoin us for that. If you do have some questions and you're Carle patient, you can reach out to acp@carle.com or their phone number, 217-326-9040. You can also request an appointment with a advanced care planning facilitator at your Carle doctor's office. If you're a non-Carle patient, again, I recommend that you reach out to your primary doctor's office if you have any questions. If you don't have any questions when you're complete with the document, please share that with your doctor's office and your advocate agent. Again, thank you. Stay healthy and stay strong. Thank you.
Thank you for tuning into CUI's TV. We hope you enjoyed the show. This video can be accessed anytime on youtube.com. In the YouTube search bar, type in UPTV6 and look for their microphone logo. We hope you will join us again next week for more local, engaging content designed specifically for Champaign County older adults. Take care and stay safe.